Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Josh McDonald.
David Blake, Jake Alliker,
Katie Smith.
And we're here today on behalf of Gay and Neel to discuss a commercial development based out of Radford, Virginia called the Tall Oaks Crossing Shopping Center. And let's fly in, if I can get the mouse to work here. And we'll have a bird's eye view look at our site. As we fly into Virginia, you're going to see that we are located between the University of Radford and the city of Christiansburg. And you can see at the top there, Blacksburg, just out of sight. You see the New River flowing there on the left. As we fly into our actual site, you're going to see that we're located along Tyler Avenue and Rock Road. And as you can see, they have already started site work there. We didn't consider that for when we did our design. We considered everything that looks like the back of the site heavily wooded with brush. That's how we did our design. As far as existing conditions, it is zoned as general business district, so we do have by right use to use it the way that we are. One of the major concerns that we do have is a dry stream bed that we didn't have to take into account for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for mitigation of that, but we did have to take into account. It did add a lot of volume to our cut and fill. As far as our design constraints for our structures, we did have 50,000 square feet of retail space and a restaurant and a bank, and the bank did have a drive-through, and we did have quite a few number of parking spaces. Our preliminary site design, you do see that we didn't go with this one because there's a lot of unused space between the stormwater management pond and what we have for our actual structures. And when we tried to tie in at the very top there with our grading, it wasn't able to tie in to the existing contours. Our final selected layout, you can see we went with two parallel buildings, and we do have the restaurant and the bank located at the intersection of Rock and Tyler Avenue. That was so that most people can see everything with our site and attract a lot of customers. And we're going to have David talk to you about some of our grading concerns.
All right, here's the picture we took after grading had already started, but you can see here that we're dealing with some pretty steep slopes. This is the actual pre-development slope. They've already cut off some of the depth here and some of the top of this mountain, and so the height before this would have been about twice that. So we're dealing with some pretty extreme slopes. Here's our grading plan just to get you oriented. Tyler Road running here, Rock Road running here. Tyler has about a 4% grade coming down this way, and then Rock has a further grade going down this way, which makes a sizable vertical drop between our two entrances here. So that kind of constrained our design. Another thing that constrained us was that we wanted our buildings here to sit kind of high on the site, both for visibility to the customers, because this is a shopping center, and also to reduce the amount of cut on the site. But then that further constrained us in that we had to meet this low elevation down here. So we ended up with about a 5% grade coming down towards Rock Road in the parking lot, about a 1% grade coming down this way towards Tyler Avenue. So we have max slopes here where we tie into the existing terrain. This is about 3-to-1 and 3-to-1 here. This is a fill about 4-to-1. We also have a steep part here by the bank, 3-to-1. We didn't really have any problems with low slopes since we have such large changes in elevation. We were able to have slopes everywhere on the site. And I'm going to let Jake talk about the stormwater management.
Our site was situated across 3 watersheds here. You see our site lays mostly across B, and the area and runoff volume from watersheds A and C were actually reduced, so we didn't have to factor those into our detention plan. B, on the other hand, was another monster. It's very extensive. It extends beyond that road at the top, way past into the adjoining properties. It has an area of 33 acres, in fact, the majority of which is untouched. Any runoff from that, we tried to, if it didn't come onto our site, we wanted to reroute it around that. And we did that using these right here. There's 2 culverts that will collect water that comes
from the watershed, and it'll reroute around here to the outlet structure that was already in place. Any water that lands on site will be captured by 3 pipes here, here, and here. The parking lot grades down towards the restaurant, and it will be collected by these, and then the great inlets along the parking lot to try and reduce that. There's a total of 18 inlets, and they were placed strategically to allow no more than an acre of drainage area per inlet, and just so we didn't overflow any certain inlet. Any water collected on site runs to an underground detention structure, which is located right here. It's quite a large structure. We needed almost 1,000 cubic yards of storage, and it meets those requirements. Our runoff rates, as you can see, the culverts took up a lot of the allowable rates, and so what the detention structure does is allow us to control with the 5 and 7 cubic feet per second to allow our post-development to meet our pre-development rates. Our water and sewer lines, the sewer lines are the dark black lines run from the retail lots to down here where our tie-ins are at Rock Road, or Tyler Avenue, excuse me. The water lines run, this is the dashed line. Every one of those blue things is a tap, or not a tap, sorry, but a gate valve to allow for maintenance, and it dead ends at a water meter box up on the retail stores to allow for service to each one of those. Our sanitary sewer requirements here, we got those from the SCAT regulations, Virginia SCAT regs, and they're 8-inch pipes. That was all we needed. Our water was dictated by fire flow, which is 3,200 gallons per minute. Fire hydrants were located in the parking lot here. We'll work here and here to service those buildings. Those pipes were sized using Manning's equation. The water line's an 8-inch water line. That's also all we needed. So it was nice to be able to keep those those size pipe minimized. We also applied for sewer. We have the 400% peak factor, which is standard for submains and laterals. And Katie's going to talk about our ENSC plan.
Before construction could begin, we had to put in place our phase 1 of our erosion and sediment control plan. A critical area for our site was the dry stream bed, and that directed the water underneath Rock Road and off-site. So we placed a sediment basin to collect that and filter the water before it went through the culvert and off-site. There are 3 other culverts, one under Rock Road and 2 under Tyler Avenue, as well as an inlet at the intersection, and outlet protection and inlet protection will be placed at all those locations. Silt fence and super silt fence will be placed along the road, and finally a construction entrance will be placed at the location that will eventually become the main entrance along Tyler Avenue. For phase 2 of the ENSC plan, it will mostly be maintaining the practices put in place during phase 1, as well as including seeding and soil stabilization, which will be laid out after every initial and final grade is finished.